Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Thursday night football, the day after Christmas. Hopefully, everybody is merry and well. You got everything you wanted from Santa Claus, your friends, or your family. And now we're kind of caught in no man's land, as they say. This week after Christmas to New Year, right? It's Thursday, then tomorrow's Friday. You know the days of the week, but we're caught in that weird web where it's like, we're gonna go to work or we're not, and then when we get there, are we going to do anything or are we not? We're going to use vacation days, see what happens. It's no man's land. Nothing really is going on, but we have football games, we have college football, hockey is rolling, and whatever you're into, you can find it, right? They say no matter where you go, you can always find the good or you can find the bad. I guess it's just what you're looking to do, right? And when we get back to this, Seattle is at Chicago. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. Right now, the over-under is around 42 total points. And before I say anything, when I was digging into this game, like statistically speaking, these two teams, the Seahawks and the Bears, are similarly close in terms of what their defenses do, what their offenses, do, the points given, the points for, and it's really strange. So when we dig into this a little bit, I'll throw some drips and drabs of what I think where the game will be headed in my book. The Seattle Seahawks, 8-7. They've lost 2 games in a row, and they're not in first place in the NFC West anymore. You look at the Rams, looks like they've won, what are they? The Rams have won 4 games in a row, and Seattle Seahawks were kind of cruising. They won 4 in a row. Now they've lost back-to-back games, and the Rams have snuck into that first overall spot in the West. And the Seattle Seahawks, more than likely, they're going to have to win the division to make the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in, and the wild card spots are nuts with the Packers are right there. Washington that has 10 wins. So Seattle 8-7, a lot of work to do, and then they need some help. When you look at the Chicago Bears, they've lost 9 games in a row. Not too much good going on with the Bears, but I will say Caleb Williams has shown some flashes. So if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you should be somewhat excited, looking for a new head coach next season. But hey, this is a DFS video for Thursday Night Football, not how I plan to rebuild the Chicago Bears as a GM. I have no experience in that arena. This game, what are we going to do? The NFC North versus the NFC West. I did the same thing here as I did with the Christmas Day video with 5 or 6 players highlighted, and then I have just this chunkage of flex plays. So let's get right into it. Caleb Williams against the Seattle Seahawks defense, which is 19th overall against opposing quarterbacks. I have Caleb 20 to 21 completions, 220 passing yards, a touchdown pass, and around 4 to 5 carries for another 30 yards. I do think that Caleb can get to that second touchdown, whether it's in the air or on the ground. That's yet to be seen. But if Caleb can get to 2 scores, he will more than likely repay his value. With everything I just told you with the 220 and the touchdown and 30 yards on the ground, you're looking at 2.5 times the value. If this kid can find that second touchdown, we could get to 3.5, 4 times the value. 14 grand on FanDuel, 9.6 on DK. When we look at Geno Smith slowly chugging along here, Chicago Bears, though, 3rd overall against opposing quarterbacks. Geno's going to have his work cut out for him tonight. And how do we see the Seattle Seahawks morale, their attitude, losing those 2 games in a row, came down to the wire last week against Minnesota. They hung that late touchdown, and then so what? Minnesota came back and won. So that has an effect on people's psyche and their attitudes. But Geno, 24 to 25 completions, 300 yards passing, a pair of touchdown passes as well, and 2 to 3 carries for about 15 yards. So you're looking at Geno 14.5 on FanDuel. I'm skimming down the list. He's not even the most expensive player on FanDuel. It looks like Jackson Smith-Njigba is, which we'll get to. But Geno, 2.5 times the value, 300 yards and 2 touchdown passes. That could be, we could get into the realm of 4 times the value. And if that's the case, then you're going to want Geno as your captain MVP spot. As we go down when you look at the Seattle backfield, unfortunately, Kenneth Walker III has already been ruled out, so it looks like this is Zach Charbonnet's backfield for the foreseeable future. But, a little bit of Kenny McIntosh, which you're free and able to toss in if you want. But when we look at Charbonnet, Chicago Bears, 29th overall against opposing running backs, that's where I'm putting my chips. You're looking at 16 to 17 carries, 70 yards, a touchdown on the ground, lock it up, put it in your anytime touchdown parlays, and 3 to 4 receptions for around 30 yards. The great thing about Charbonnet is he's on the field for everything, running plays, receiving plays, and the guy can do it all, thankfully. And on the other side, DeAndre Swift, almost the same thing. They're kind of a carbon copy of each other, but Swift is the starter regardless of injuries and outcome, where Charbonnet fills in where he needs to be admirably, if I may say. But Swift, Seattle Seahawks, 18th overall against opposing running backs, 17, 18 carries, around 70 yards, plus 2 to 3 receptions for around 15 yards. The only bummer about Swift is so far this year, he's only averaging 3.8 yards a carry. That's that's dumpy. That's got to be, I don't have the numbers in front of me, which is nuts. Chris, you don't have the numbers in front of you. You got this whole list as the camera kind of fades into it. But Swift, I don't know what we're going to do with Swift. Again, I said 70 yards, 15 receiving, so you're just shy of like 90 all-purpose yards. Can Swift get to 100? Absolutely. All it takes is one 25, 35-yard reception, and we're rolling. 10 grand on FanDuel, 7-6 on DK. As we get to the wide receiver portion here, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, I'm just rolling names off, which you can find easily. But DJ Moore is highlighted. I think he needs to be locked in our lineups. And when you look at what he can do, and again, Seattle, 22nd overall against opposing wide receivers. DJM, 8-9 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, 65 to 70 yards, and 1 to 2 carries for around 10 yards. I have Chicago to only score around 14 points. You're looking at 2 touchdowns. If Caleb Williams is throwing one of those touchdowns, where is it going to go? It could be to Swift, but I do think Caleb and DJ Moore connect in the end zone. So DJ Moore locked for a touchdown as well. What are we going to do with Swift? Could find one on the ground, and we'll move on. When we look at the rookie Rome Odunze, 5-6 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 50 yards. I've been saying this for weeks. In Bottom of the Barrel, any single game slate videos that feature the Chicago Bears, the chemistry between Rome and Caleb Williams is growing, and it's rolling, and it's starting to get good. But Keenan Allen looks to be the big man on campus, or the big man in Chicago. How many times last week against the Detroit Lions did we see Caleb just fire the football into Keenan Allen? It looks like Keenan is like that safe guy for Caleb, and it's a beautiful thing. Keenan Allen, 9-10 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, around 70 yards. I would look to move some pieces around to get Keenan in my lineups. And again, 14 points, that little bit not a lot to work with, but hey, I'm not the end-all be-all. Chicago could score 21 points, then 3 touchdowns. Possibilities are endless. I would prefer DJ Moore, and we'll move on. When we look at what's going on with the Seattle Seahawks offensive players, aside from Zach Charbonnet, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Noah Fant, all 3 are in play. I would prefer, and this is nuts, really JSN's not the nuts play, but not willingly fading DK Metcalf, but he's 13 grand on FanDuel, 5-6 receptions, around 70 yards. But Njigba, 15 grand, a ton of dough, but you're looking at a case where it can be 2 times his value if he, 8-9 targets, 6 to 7 catches, 85 to 90 yards, and if he catches a touchdown, we're rolling. Who cares how high or low the price tag is? And when we go back to Geno Smith, 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, more than likely one of those suckers is going to go to Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think the second touchdown here, follow me, will be to the Seattle Seahawks tight end Noah Fant in Chicago, 24th overall against opposing tight ends. He's finally on the field. He's somewhat healthy. Don't want to say rolling, but Noah Fant is someone we need to pay attention to. 4 to 5 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 40 yards, and that touchdown reception. Other than that, we're good to go. I do see a case here where Chicago's kicker, Cairo Santos, is in play. And I only say that because he's popped up in some optimizers and projections that I've run prior to this video here. So Santos, again, Chris, what are we doing? Chicago's only scoring 14 points. You're kind of contradicting yourself. Well, anything is possible. It's a single game slate. I can only do so much. Let me give you some recent betting trends. We'll get the heck out of here. And a final score. Seattle, 15th overall in scoring, and Seattle 13th overall in points allowed. When you look at the Chicago defense, they're 14th overall in points allowed. So Chicago and Seattle within one ranking of each other in terms of points allowed. And the Chicago offense, 27th overall in scoring. There's some work to be done. And Rome wasn't built in a day. So Chicago, the future looks bright. But for tonight, give me the Seattle Seahawks to win. Get off the schneid. Final score, 23-14. So that would mean that the under is absolutely in play. Under 42 points. And get this one. The under has hit in 6 of Seattle's last 9, and the under has hit in 6 of Chicago's last 9. So we got double back-to-back 6-9s. Nice. Give me Seattle to win this one, 23-14. Be good, be safe. Have a Merry Christmas, and the New Year is coming up quick. So we'll talk before then. Bye-bye. Seattle wins this one, 23-24. Double finger guns. Bye-bye.